Today we are going to learn about common factoring. So we need to analyze an expression that we have here, and we need to go through the steps of finding the greatest common factor. So we can change this to a G, greatest common factor. So there'll be lots of factors that will work, but you want to find the greatest one. So I will look at the numbers first, and then I'll kind of check over to see if the letters can also be factored out. Okay, and in order to check to see if you did it correctly, you can expand it out in order to get to the answer. So we'll start with the first one right away. So we're looking at the numbers 5 and 15. So we're looking at 5 and 15, and we're looking for the greatest common factor. So the GCF here is 5. Okay, so if you're looking at what's the largest number that you can divide out of both 5 and 15 without going over the smallest number, so 5. From there, I'm just going to analyze, do they both have an x? No, this one has an x. So just the greatest common factor will just be the value 5. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to divide both of them by the greatest common factor. And then I'm going to write the common factor out here and then go through and divide. So 5 divided by 5, that cancels out. That leaves me just the x. Then the plus sign is here. And then we have 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay, and that's my final factored answer. So if I wanted to check that and see if I did it right, you can expand it. Okay, and that's the distributive property. So if we expand this out, that's when we're multiplying this value in, and then we'll get 5x plus 15, and that's what we had originally, so that's how we know we did factor it correctly. We'll move on to the next question, B. Again, looking for the greatest common factor. We have 4, we have 8, we have 16. The largest number that can divide out of all of those is 4. This one has a y squared, a y. This one doesn't have a y, so we're not going to take out any letters. Okay, so then go through the steps of reminding yourself you should be dividing the 4, because you're going to factor the 4 out here, and you're going to, so in a sense, you're dividing the 4 out, and then you're telling me what's left. 4 divided by 4 cancels out. That leaves a y squared. The plus comes down. 8 divided by 4 is 2y, and then 16 divided by 4 is 4. Okay, so again, if you double check it, multiply this in, you should get back to the original. So that's how you know you factored it. So this is the factored answer, and that's what you want. On to C. Again, analyze for the greatest common factor. So I'm looking at all the values right now, 2, 5, and 7. There isn't a common factor. Like 1 works, but 1 won't change anything, so we won't have any numbers here. So now we're going to analyze the letters. This one has n cubed, n squared, and n. So just think of it as the letter that has the lowest exponent is your greatest common factor. Okay, so just 1n. All right, so take that number, or take that letter and divide out by that letter. Okay, so write it like that. So to write the factored answer, you're going to write the greatest common factor right there, and then go through and clean this up. So 2 divided by, like, there's a 1 here, still 2, and then n cubed divided by n is n squared. So this is a little bit of exponent law from last year. Okay, and then we have 5 divided by 5, or sorry, 1, still 5 there, but n squared divided by n becomes just the 1n, and 7 divided by 1 is still 7, so the values didn't change, but the letters n and n will cancel out, so just leaving the 7 there. On to question D. Okay, again, look for analyze it for the greatest common factor here. So in this case here, I'm looking at the 7 and the 28. So 7 can be divided out of both of those. Now look for the letters. This one has 1, and to the 1, this one has 1. So they both have a 1m. The n's here, we have an n cubed, n squared. N squared is the lowest, so n squared will be your greatest common factor. Okay, and then we're going to go through and divide these out. Okay, so then you're going to write your factored answers. So write the greatest common factor out here. Don't forget that. And then go through. 7 divided by 7 cancels out m, and m cancels out n cubed, and n squared leaves 1n. Then the 28 and the 7 divide out to make 4. The m and m cancel out. The n squared also cancel out to leave that answer there. Okay, so I think you get the hang of things, so you can kind of work ahead if you want. Do a couple more here, and then we'll move on to some trickier ones on the next page. So again, I always analyze the numbers. 35 and 10. What's the greatest common factor? So you're counting up 5, 10. 10 won't go into 35, so 5 works for both. Letters, x. This one has an x. This one doesn't, so you can't use that as a common factor, but they both do have a y. Okay, but the lowest exponent is the common factor here. Okay, so again, once you get comfortable, you don't have to keep doing this step here. You just simply write it out here, and then in your head you can sit there and divide it out. But yeah, for the time being, write it if you need to. So 35 and 5 is 7. The x has nothing to divide with, so it just comes along. The y's cancel out. Okay, here's the subtraction. Leave that there. 5 divided by 10 is 2. Y squared divided by y, y1. Okay, this one looks a little bit more tricky, but still just keep following the rules and you'll be okay. So again, 4, 20, and 4. Greatest common factor there, 4. Okay, the j's, I see a j cubed, a j squared, and a j, so the lowest exponent goes there. The k to the 4, k to the 3, k squared. There we go, and then you can just start going from here. Okay, and then don't forget to write the greatest common factor right there. People always forget. This is that little mark. Okay, so then from there, 4 divided by 4 cancels out. J cubed and j leaves a j squared. K to the 4, k squared is k2 left. Okay, 20 divided by, subtract first, 20 divided by 4 is 5. J squared j, k cubed, k squared is just k. 4 divided by 4 is just 1, but we don't write that. J and j are gone. Well, k squared and k squared are gone, so I guess like you do write the 1 in this case here because there's no letters left. Okay, moving on to slightly different ones now. Before you saw, there was just, we're looking at a number, we're looking at a letter, finding the common factor. So a lot of this was from grade 9 and before. But now we're in grade 10, we're looking at slightly different things that they have in common. So in this case here, just analyze the expression here, and you'll notice that there's a term here, and then it's added to this term, but they have this part in common. So that's the greatest common factor. Okay, write it in brackets. And that's what you're going to take and divide out. So if I actually write it as divide, in brackets y plus 2, y plus 2, okay? And then, so you can divide out, like these will cancel out. These will cancel out, right? So, but you still have to follow the steps that you followed before, where you're going to take your greatest common factor and write it out here, write it in the brackets, okay? And then you're going to go through and then cancel stuff out. So like these two will cancel out, y plus 2, y plus 2. That leaves me this x here. And for the next one, it leaves the plus 3, and then you put a bracket around it. Okay, do the same with h and I. Just go ahead and work ahead of me if you want. Okay, so again, looking for the greatest common factor. In this case here, it's an actual binomial, like an expression here. So I'm going to take that, and it's important, bring the brackets with it. Okay, so you'll know to write it when you're actually writing it here. Okay, so again, if you are starting to see the pattern here, you don't need to do this step here. You can just automatically go, oh, I see the common factor there. So I'm just going to take it, write it out here. And then in my head, I know that these two will have to cancel out, leaving a C, bracket C. And then there's a subtraction. And then these two will cancel out. So what's left when the same things cancel out? A 1. Okay, and we'll move on to the next one here. So I'll leave this one here so you can still see it. So greatest common factor here, again, hopefully you see there's these two here that are the same. Okay, so write the greatest common factor here, and then we have this 6t squared is left for this first one here. And then the plus is there. When these two cancel out, it leaves a 1. There we go. And a question someone might ask is, can I write them the other way? And is it still correct? So can you write it like that? Yeah, it's still the same. Okay, moving on to factoring by grouping. So we had where you were just pulling out a simple greatest common factor for the first few here. Then we're pulling out something that looked like it was, or that was in brackets. So now we're getting to what happens when there's 4 terms, okay, or multiple, more than that, or generally it should be even numbers. Okay, so so again, if you try to use your steps of, okay, looking at all the numbers here, there isn't a common factor. I can't pull out divide the same number out of all of these. If we start analyzing the letters, oh, look, they don't all have an X. They don't all have a Y. Okay, so that doesn't work. So what's our greatest common factor here? You're going to have to factor these in pieces. So you're going to take the first 2, okay, and then you're going to take the second 2 and factor them separately. So if we're looking at the first 2, so maybe I'll use different colors here. So if we're looking at this one here, the greatest common factor here for the first 2, okay, is, so for 2 and 4, 2, they both do have an X, so the lowest exponent is X there. Okay, and then this one here, we'll find the greatest common factor of those separately. So again, 3 and 6 is 3. They both have a Y that's in common, so take a Y out. Okay, and then just go through the steps of factoring those pairs together. So this one would be 2x, and that'll be 2x there. So that would leave me 2x to come out here. And then I have 2 divided by 2, that's cancels out. X squared by x is x. 4 divided by 2 is plus 2, and the x's cancel out. Okay, and then if we move on to the next pair, so it's a plus 3y, a positive 3y was taken out. Okay, so write that underneath if you need to. Okay, so then 3 divided by 3 is gone. X is got nothing to divide by, so carry it along. Y and y will cancel out. The 6 divided by 3 is 2, and the y's will cancel out. So then you get to there, and then you feel, okay, I must be done. But if you're taking a look here, hopefully you notice that, oh, wait, there's these that they have in common. Okay, so the GCF, we have to do it another, we have to go through another step here. Greatest common factor here is x plus 2, x plus 2. Okay, so write the greatest common factor, and then what's left if I cancel these two out? Just the 2x in its own bracket. These two will cancel out, that leaves the 3y. Okay, and now you're finally factored. Okay, carry on and do the same thing with the other ones. So I'm going to grab these two here. Okay, greatest common factor. Looking at the numbers, they both have a 1, so we're not going to pull that out, but they do have an x to the 1. Okay, and then, so maybe I'll just carry on with that one. X, X. Okay, and then the other one, we're going to be careful here. So we have a negative here. Okay, so if I guess like the first one that you're trying to factor is negative, you gotta take that negative out. So they both have a negative 1 in common, and they both have a y in common. Okay, so you're gonna divide by that negative y, and let's write out our answers here. So we have our common factor of x for this pair, and then x divided by x. X squared divided by x is x. X divided by x is 1. And then the next one here, the common factor was negative y. And then, so negative divided by negative is positive. That's why we had to divide by negative. We want to make sure the number that starts in here, okay, in the bracket is positive. So the y and y will cancel out. That leaves just a positive x. Negative, negative makes positive. And then y divided by y is just the 1. And then this is what we want to see. When we get to here, the two factors are the same. Okay? And then, you know, in this step here, you'd find the common factor divided out. But hopefully you can see that if I take this one out, put it here, it leaves these two left. So here, I'll just try that trick here. So x plus 1 is the thing they have in common. That leaves me with this x and this minus y for the other bracket. Okay, so if you can cut down your steps in your work, pick up on that little trick. Okay, so a few more left. Just go ahead and work ahead of me. Can't scroll up anymore. So, all right. So with these ones here, change to blue. Okay, so the greatest common factor, I'm going to start using, okay, so I know that the greatest common factor here and here, 5, they both have an m squared. They both don't have a t, so 5m squared. Okay, and this one here, 1 and 2, so 1's the greatest common factor for the number, but they do have a t they can both divide away. Okay, and let's write this out. So we got 5m squared is the common factor here. 5 and 5 are gone. M squared. That leaves me a t. That is minus 2. The m squares cancel out. Okay, we'll keep going in the same color here. Then we have plus t, and then that leaves me a t inside, and minus 2 here. Okay, so again, hopefully you see that these two are the common factors right here and right here. So you can just jump right to the next step without doing this, what we did here. But if you want to if you're more comfortable, do the step in A. I know that this is the common factor here. That leaves me this one and this one left in the other bracket. So it's important to make sure that these brackets are on both. Okay, so let's move on to this one. Okay, and then watch out, here's that negative. So negative 3 has to come out, negative 3. Okay, m squared and m makes m and m are gone, leaves an n. Negative 3 was factored out of these two. Negative negative makes positive m. The 3's will be gone. All right, negative negative makes positive. 3 divided by 3 gone, and that leaves just an n. Right? And again, if these are not the same sign, you did something wrong, so go back and fix your work. So that leaves me with this common factor here and here, and then these two are left in the second bracket. Okay, last one. Okay, no number works, but they both have an x squared. Okay, and here's a different one. I'm looking at the numbers, nothing works. They both don't have a letter that's in common, so the only thing that will work is a 1. So we're just going to roll with it here. And so from there, okay, let's pull out the x squared. The 5 will come down. The x squareds cancel out, 5y. Subtract. These two cancel out, 1. Okay, and then here was that common factor of 1. I'm just going to pull it out here. And then that leaves that divided by that is still 5y. That divided by that is still negative 1. Okay, and then if you look, now we have that common factor that can come out. Okay, and then write what's left, this one and this one in the second bracket. Okay, so hopefully you feel confident with common factoring by grouping.